Do not believe that life is a straight path, a path of roses where good always triumphs and evil retreats headlong. Life is a labyrinth of broken mirrors, where shadow and light intertwine, where the devil whispers promises to the ear and God hides in the song of a cricket. This is the story of Evaristo, a peasant with a simple soul and unbreakable faith, a man who learned to distinguish the voice of heaven from the roar of hell. The farmer and the devil Samarincho, a being of twisted cunning and a viper in tongue, was in a precarious situation. He had made a terrible mistake, a disobedience that had cost 1,000 souls to hell. The Maximus, the Lord of Darkness, had given him one last chance to bring a pure soul without stain before the last grain of sand from the clock of fate fell. Samarincho, mounted in his cloud of sulfur, wandered the world in search of his prey. Cities, labyrinths of greed and sin, did not offer any hope. It was then, when, in a forgotten corner of the world, he spotted a humble farm. "Aha!" he exclaimed, rubbing his hands with satisfaction. "Here it is." He knew he would find it, and heading his cloud of sulfur to place, he descended. The farm belonged to Evaristo, a man of about 50 years, with courteous hands and an honest look. He lived with Elena, his wife, a woman with a sweet smile and a generous heart. His closest neighbor was Samuel, a childhood friend, whose farm was about 50 meters from Evaristo's. Every afternoon, when the sun went down, Evaristo and Samuel met under the shade of an old tree on the edge of the dirt road that joined two villages. They shared stories, laughs, and the sweet tiredness of well-done work. One afternoon, while the sun was setting in a flash of colors, Samuel told Evaristo about the rumors that circulated in the village. A rich man with soft manners and cold eyes was buying land at exorbitant prices. "Not for all the gold in the world would I sell my lands," said Samuel with a voice full of conviction, before saying goodbye. The next day, after the work, as always, Evaristo went to the tree, waiting to find his friend. But Samuel did not appear. The restlessness began to wring his soul. Upon returning home, he told Elena about Samuel's absence. "Something is wrong," said Evaristo with a frown. At dawn, Evaristo went to Samuel's farm. Upon arrival, he came across a scene that froze his blood. A man elegantly dressed, with a cold smile, greeted him at the door. "Good morning, friend, can I help you?" asked the stranger, with a voice that sounded like the creaking of ice. "Good morning, gentlemen. I am looking for Samuel," replied Evaristo with a trembling voice. "Samuel? Samuel no longer lives here," said the man, with a smile that did not reach his eyes. "I have bought the property." Evaristo felt as if the world collapsed at his feet. Samuel, his friend, his confidant, had gone. He had sold his lands. He had abandoned his home. Loneliness took hold of him, a cold emptiness that choked to the bones. What dark reasons had led Samuel to make such a decision? And who was that mysterious man who had appeared out of nowhere? Intrigue and fear intertwined in Evaristo's heart, weaving a shadow of uncertainty over his soul. Evaristo returned home with a heavy heart and told Elena about Samuel's strange sale of land and the meeting with the mysterious man. Poor Samuel, Elena murmured with eyes full of sadness. How could he do something like that? Evaristo looked at the sky and moved his head. The next day, Evaristo went to the field, trying to concentrate on work under the suffocating sun. Suddenly, a soft and melodious voice called him. "Good morning, Mr. Evaristo." Evaristo turned around and saw the man elegantly dressed, with a charming smile and bright eyes. It was the same man who had bought Samuel's farm. "I am your new neighbor," said the man, extending his hand. "My name is Samarincho." Evaristo stretched out his hand, feeling a chill run through his spine. "A pleasure," he replied cautiously. "I have been admiring your lands," said Samarincho, with shine in his eyes. "They are beautiful, very fertile. I would like to buy them." Evaristo was surprised. "My lands are not for sale," he replied firmly. "Oh, of course, I know, but I am willing to pay a very generous price." Samarincho insisted with persuasive look, an amount that would allow him to comfortably live the rest of his life. Evaristo nodded. "I am not interested in money," he said. "These lands are my home, my life." Samarincho, seeing that his promises did not work, Change tactics. Mr. Evaristo, I advise you to sell your lands, he said seriously. Natural disasters, calamities will soon come, and this place will be devastated. There will be nothing left. The peasant looked at him with disbelief. Natural disasters? Yes, earthquakes, floods, storms, Samarincho insisted. It is better for him to leave while he can. Evaristo frowned. Why are you telling me this? Because I care about you, he replied, with a false smile. I don't want him to suffer. Don't lie to me, Evaristo said with a voice full of suspicion. What do you really want? The devil sighed frustratedly. Well, I just want your lands, he said sincerely. Why? Why do I need them? Samarincho replied evasively. And why do you think I will give them to you? Because I am powerful. I can give you more than you have ever imagined. More than God can give me? Evaristo asked with an ironic smile. Samarincho got angry. Don't mention that name. He shouted, I am more powerful than him. I can give you wealth, power, unimaginable pleasures. Don't tempt me. Samarincho, Evaristo said with a voice full of warning. I know perfectly well who you really are. You won't be able to buy my soul. Samarincho, furious, took out his power. With a snap of his fingers, he made it rain torrentially. Look, seconds later, with another snap, the scorching sun came out. Then he made the earth tremble. And then he sent hurricane winds that hit the fields. But Evaristo did not give in. Don't scare me, Evaristo said with a firm voice. My faith is stronger than your tricks. Samarincho, frustrated and furious, threw a roar of anger and vanished into a cloud of smoke, leaving Evaristo alone in his fields. That afternoon, Evaristo returned home and told Elena everything that had happened. That man is the devil, Elena said with a trembling voice. We must not accept anything from him. Even if we have to eat earth, do not accept anything from him, Elena said with conviction. Thank you, woman, for giving me strength, Evaristo replied, moved. Samarincho, with the hurt pride and the rage eating his soul, could not accept defeat. Never before had anyone dared to reject his offers. Evaristo's stubbornness obsessed him, and he decided to devise a new plan to double it. The next day, Samarincho presented himself to Evaristo with a forced smile, but his eyes distilled a cold determination. Again, your devil, Evaristo said with a firm voice, but with a hint of fatigue in his gaze. I already told you that you will not get anything from me. Don't be stupid, Evaristo, Samarincho replied, with a persuasive voice, but with a tone that denoted impatience. I can give you everything you want, wealth, power, pleasures. Think about everything you could have. Why do you want my soul? Evaristo asked curiously, seeking to understand the devil's obsession. Because your soul is worth a lot, Samarincho replied, with another malicious look, as if revealing a dark secret. It is worth as much as what I can give you. It is a treasure that I cannot let escape. Evaristo refused with his head, with a mixture of sadness and firmness. My soul is not for sale, devil, he said with a voice full of conviction. The devil, losing his patience, warned him with a threatening tone. Okay, if you don't want the good ones, it will be the bad ones. Pay attention to the consequences. I will unleash hell in your life. You'll see, I'm not afraid of you, Evaristo replied with courage, although his heart was beating fast. That afternoon, Evaristo returned home and found Elena lifeless in bed. The silence of the house was deafening, and the pain hit him with the force of a hurricane. A scream of pain and rage tore his throat, a lament that resounded in the void. He cursed Samarincho, blaming him for the tragedy with tears that burned his cheeks. He spent the night watching his beloved with a broken heart, contemplating her pale and serene face. Every memory of their life together was a stab in his soul. The next day, without money for a burial in the cemetery, he decided to bury her in a corner of his land, under the old tree where they used to sit. While digging the grave, with trembling hands and a bleeding heart, a walker approached and asked for water. His voice was soft and full of compassion. What are you doing? And why are you crying? Asked the walker, seeing the tears on Evaristo's face that seemed to have no end. My wife is dead, replied Evaristo, with his voice broken by the cry, pointing to the removed land. The walker, whose face radiated peace and compassion, told him, with a voice that calmed his soul, "Stop crying, Evaristo. Go home and prepare the food that your wife liked best. She is waiting for you." Evaristo, disconcerted, obeyed, with a hope that fought to be born in his heart. Upon entering his house, he found Elena sitting at the table, smiling with the same smile that illuminated his days. He could not believe what he saw. His eyes were filled with tears of joy and confusion. When he left, he saw the walker finishing covering the grave, as if nothing had happened, with a serenity that contrasted with the chaos of his pain. Evaristo recognized him instantly. It was Jesus Christ. His face shone with a celestial light. "Thank you, Lord," he exclaimed, with tears of gratitude running down his cheeks. "Thank you for returning me to my beloved." The walker put his hand on his shoulder with a gesture of tenderness and said, "Your faith is worth more than any treasure. Evaristo, do not be afraid, because I am with you. I will be your shield, your bread, and your light. Samarincho will not bother you again, because your soul is protected by a greater love than any evil. Stay with me, Lord," Evaristo begged, with a trembling voice of emotion. "Do not leave me alone." "I'm sorry, Evaristo, but I have to go," replied the walker, with a sad but full of love smile. "There are many Evaristos waiting for me in the world, souls that need my presence." And with a sigh, the walker disappeared, fading in the light of the sunset, leaving Evaristo with a heart full of peace and hope, knowing that he would never be alone again.